Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, and I'm joined here by Ramon.
Hey guys, this is our first podcast of 2021. We took a week off, and it broke everyone's hearts, so now we're back.
Yes, there was much crying as we took that week off. But we're back. We've got some rest, sort of. I don't know. It was actually a pretty busy week on my end. I just decided I want to do like a bunch of things this year. So
you got that January fever going, eh? Just I want to change my whole life.
Essentially, yes, yeah. I decided that I want to. I want to do stuff here. Like I want to keep our episodes going, but I want to get Starfinder going. I want to record more things, but I also decided outside of that, I wanted to start developing games more. So I'm trying to commit to like one project a month and finishing it. So.
Whoa! Oh my God, Calvin! One project a month? That's unheard of.
Maybe I don't know. Because
seriously, man. Like you saying that is making me tired just thinking about it.
It is that a bit. It is that because I keep starting things and not finishing them because I have ideas, and then I keep working on them until I get bored of them and come up with something new. So now I'm gonna force myself to like commit to only doing one thing this month.
Ah, damn it, Calvin. Now you're gonna make me work on my side projects that has nothing to do with the channel and stuff too.
I don't know, maybe. Hopefully.
Damn you, trying to make everyone productive. I want to sit on the couch, damn it.
Oh man, me too. I'm already tired. Yeah, it's so this is a podcast all about how we play RPGs, running them, stuff like that, and hopefully we're able to pass along some pertinent information that hopefully you can take and use to make your games better.
Definitely. That's the goal.
So I guess our goal all around is to help other people improve.
Right, definitely.
Which is kind of lofty. I mean, I'm just trying to do better for myself, but if it helps others, then sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping that people, through osmosis of us talking and sharing our experiences, they can, take that extra step further than they thought they could do on their own. Or you just like to hear us talk, which is pretty good. I know I like to hear Calvin's voice, so that's why we do this podcast together.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun just hanging out and chatting, and I'm glad other people enjoy hearing it. So if you enjoy hearing it, then hit that subscribe button, and you'll keep hearing that.
Yeah, drop us a like and comment down below. Do the plug things, plug.
Yeah, you gotta do our plugs up top and our plugs at the end, like professionals.
Yeah, right. But also, I wanted to kind of drop like a tip, I guess. I set this out too as a goal. I'd be like, we should probably upfront give people tips instead of just kind of like the osmosis thing I just said.
Oh yeah, okay.
Which is good, right? So I think the tip of this podcast would be if you have writer's block on a certain aspect of your game, or you're kind of dreading doing something, a good thing is just kind of doing the parts that you enjoy. I know that sometimes like building like an entire world and a story and all that stuff can get overwhelming, but like if you're just kind of stuck, just find the things that you like. For me, it's building encounters and building maps and drawing stuff out and like doing that kind of that kind of fight aspect. I think as I'm building that out, the story just comes to me, and it's a good place a good way to fix that writer's block and get past it.
Right.
But yeah, I just want to drop that in there.
Okay, yeah, that's good advice. So you're getting the advice up front now instead of after we come to it.
I know, right? So people don't have to like scrub through all the flim-flam to really piece out what we're trying to say.
The flim-flam is the best part, though. So let's flim right into that flam.
Yeah.
So for this episode, the first episode of 2021, I wanted to change things up a bit and talk about player characters. Because we usually talk about things from the GM side of the screen, GM, DM, narrator, whatever your game is. We usually talk about that sort of subject, but I wanted to cover player characters a bit because I don't know that we've really delved into that as a topic. Because we have talked about NPC creation multiple times, but we haven't really talked about like creating a player character. And that was something that I wanted to cover. So I guess let's just get into where do you start when creating a player character? Because I would think that depends heavily on the system that you're playing in, the genre that you're playing in. If you're doing any sort of session zero, to get a general feel of what the world is, which is something that I feel like as a GM I should do more often in session zeros. But
I mean, session zeros are, in my opinion, like, it's like you could be spending if you got the entire group together, you guys should be playing, hopefully, right? Because it's a monumental task to coordinate like a bunch of people to meet somewhere and do a thing, right? But I do like session zero. I guess because now we live in the Rona times. You know, it's people are more willing to meet with you online and just chat in like a Discord or like on like a messenger group or something like that. And I think that's like a good way of doing your session zero without actually meeting, because you can meet with a couple other people or shoot out your ideas there, and people might graft onto it. Like I should say, I'm in like a Lancer game, and you know, I know I'm playing with a friend that I know personally, so I was just talking to him about it, right? So we had like our mini session zero, like all by ourselves, and then we kind of posted like stuff inside of a Discord, right? To our GM and be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, this is my character, and then as everyone kind of filled in their character and be like, you know, what they're good at, you know, this is the type of character I'm playing, like what's their background, and then it's like, oh cool, your character's like this, I think your character and my character might work together, or maybe we're on the same team or something like that. That's kind of like the session zero stuff. So I think that like you don't actually have to do if you all can't meet for like the session zero, then it's totally fine. But I also really like to just, if you have ideas, like please just tell your DM before the first session. I think that's like the important part, is like people all should be aware that like your character has a secret backstory and like he's trying to kill his dad because his dad didn't love him because his dad was too busy at the cheese factory or something, like
the space cheese factory.
The space cheese factory, because he was a space waiter, and he had to, but really his dad, when he finally meets his dad, he's like, I was just working for you, I didn't mean to leave you for a pack of smokes or something, right?
Or a pack of
that got off topic.
There was some discourse on Twitter, I want to say a while back, but it might have just been like a few days ago, that was going around about kind of what you were saying about session zero, and like if you have everyone together, then you should just focus on playing. And I learned something, which was that you can play in a session zero, and that never really, like, I guess I didn't really realize that, like, that's sort of an obvious, oh, right thing that, like, I should have been aware of. Because whenever people talk about session zero, it's never in terms of, like, getting some play in. It's more in terms of, like, setting the tone, setting, like, any sort of, like, important factors, or, like, what subjects people might want to avoid. Any safety tools, things like that. And I've never heard anyone talk about playing in a session zero, so I don't know. So like these individual session zeros I think are really great for, like, again, setting up those things like character backstory and stuff like that, like things that you can do individually from the group. But what also comes with session zeros is, of course, being able to create those player characters as a group, like to already have certain connections between them. But I think you can do that as a group, especially with Lancer, because there is like a thing for that specifically to be bonded to someone.
Yeah, they actually give you a rollable table where it's just like, how do you know each other, right? Why are we working together? Some of them are kind of crazy, like, I love you, right? Like some hardcore stuff. It's like, I'm in love with you, or it's like, you left me for dead, but I came back and you were surprised, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of cool because, it's cool because Lancer is like, you're never, even though you're level 0 Lancer, you're actually like the top, you're like the ace pilot already, right? Like you're already kind of starting at the peak of like just, you know, you being a regular person. Like you're like the, you know, like it's like you are in the NBA, right? Like,
yeah, you're a low level in the NBA, but you're still
you're right. You got drafted, you did it, right? There's that alone is crazy. So you know, it's really cool that you can have so much background to your character, even to the point where like your team is like, you guys are actually so integrated that you guys raise through the ranks of whatever organization you guys work for or whatever, because you're so goddamn cool, right? So I like that aspect, and I think that I would want to take that table and maybe fix it around to fit a little bit more of whatever genre the game I'm running in, and just kind of use that as a tool to get players to become the party, right? I hate it so much when it takes forever to get the party together. Like I love stories where they're getting the party together, but I also actually hate session 1 where the party is not together and having to cram all these different personalities and motives into a cohesive unit, right?
Yeah, I guess that is something else that Session 0 can cover, because I do recall you mentioning however many episodes ago that you like Session 2 but you don't like Session 1 because you gotta go through that mud of trying to get the party to be a party. So having, like, when you're creating those player characters, I think something you can look for as a player is, how can I connect this character to someone else? Unless you're specifically in a position where your characters are going to not know each other, if that's the kind of game that the GM is running. If you might know other people, then that is something you can lean on to sort of make character creation, or not character creation itself, but like party creation, make that a bit smoother. Man.
Yeah, you could even say it's like, instead of it being like, that specific person, but let's say one person is creating like in terms of like fantasy, it's like, one person is a cleric of a specific god, right? So maybe in your character, your backstory could be like, you don't have to be like specifically around that god, but you can say like, I know. Like, you could ask your DM, be like, hey, is there anything, how can I connect myself to one of the players? The GM could say, well, this player is thinking about playing like X god. You could be like, okay, cool. I know that there's a temple of X god in my town or my old town or something like that, right? So at least it's like when your characters see each other and you're like, oh man, hey, you over there, you're a cleric from this god, right? And then, that's instant connection because, you grew up with a temple there. And then now, instead of it being like, oh, you're so unfamiliar with my character, there's building that familiarity, because that's really what it is, right? It's like the first session is building familiarity with the other party members and aligning each other's goals. Right? And that's, and I just, I would say, if I could dole out some more advice, as I know we're coming from the player's perspective, so I would say I would go to your DM and be like, okay, cool, this is my character idea. How do I align myself to some part of your world, and how do I align myself to some other person in the party? And if you have those two directions to play off of, it will make your character it'll make everything so good, so seamless. Like, honestly, I think the hardest part is like having a character that's kind of like, you're all playing Vikings and one dude's the Arabian guy from the desert. You're like, why are you here, right? But if that dude's like, well, I'm here to go see your king, right? And it's like, oh, okay, that makes total sense. Come with us, right?
Like there does have to be some communication between player and GM, like in most things, but especially when creating a character, because you want to make something that's going to fit within the world and within what you want to do in it. Like what kind of story is going to be coming out of it, which is, I guess, something that, again, Session 0 can cover. But you want to, I would say that is good advice to see, like, how can I align myself with the world, and how can I align myself with at least one other person, just to sort of make the transition from individuals to party a bit easier, I would say.
Oh, man. Yeah, for sure. It's. I think, again, it's like you've said it, I've said it. I just like Session 1. It's just like I really just want to become like the A team and just be friends. I just want to be like best friends forever. Like, we're so much past and so many inside jokes, and I want to get to that point. I want this whole like, I'm new, like, hate it. But yeah, I don't know, Calvin, have you when you create a character for when you're not running a game, like, creating a PC, have you have you actually talked to other players about your character beforehand, or is it always just kind of like I want to reveal them, right? Because I think that's the thing. It's like I want to show off my new character. I think this is how some people kind of think about it.
Yeah. Let's see. What are some recent characters I've made? Well, for Tim's game, he's running Pathfinder right now. We've talked about him a few times. I recall he had asked at some point if he wanted to make our characters connected, but also it was a very small game with just like a couple of people, 2-3 people. So at the time we had ended up like not really determining that kind of thing. But there is actually another game that I'm going to be part of. It's going to be streaming on the Untold Stories Project channel this week, so I'll give them a shout out at the end of the show. But when we were making those characters for that, we did have a session 0, and I was specifically we were talking about like how we can tie our characters not only to the game world, which frankly I'm not super familiar with, but also some relationships they could have with each other. And something I'm always on the lookout for whenever I'm joining a new game, I guess, is what role I can fill in. Because I do like smashing, but like I love smashing and doing damage. But of late, I've been wanting to try to do like playing more healers and stuff like that. Maybe not exactly a cleric, if that's the thing the game allows, but like trying to do more of a support character, because I kind of find like sometimes no one's filling that position. And even when I'm making NPCs, just sort of deviating from the topic a bit, I do kind of think like, well, what kind of person would be helpful to the party? Maybe someone who can at least do a heal spell. Someone who can do stabilize.
I think typically parties don't have like a healer, or like they don't really want to be. Like they do want to be the dedicated healer, like you want to be supportive, but also it's almost like a thankless job. In all honesty, it's like you really feel it when there's not a healer on the team, and then when there is a healer on a team, you're mad that the healer isn't healing you specifically.
Exactly.
Right. And and that's why a lot of times like DM NPCs end up just being healers, because you really want because it's like you remember when the fighter crits and takes down the bad guy. You don't remember the fact that the healer made sure that you were not dead.
Yeah, the healer is the reason that you're vertical right now.
Exactly. But it's fine. If you feel like you want to play that character in that kind of combat scenario, go for it. I don't, because I'm bad at it. First of all, because I'm kind of one of those Leroy Jenkins kind of characters all the time, where I kind of just dive head first into stuff. Most of my characters are kind of like that kind of person, because I still can't shake that that it's a game. Yeah. Actually, like I'm like, oh yeah, this is a game. Even if I die, something cool will happen and I'll enjoy it. Like, yeah, right. So which I think is at odds with a lot of other players. Actually, that actually brings it to like, actually reminds me of one of the last sessions I played in a Lancer game I'm playing in, where my character decided that straight up, like, I'm going to take a bullet for my guys, because my Lancer is like he's kind of like more of the leader type. He leads from the front, kind of that strong buff dude. Mm-hmm. And he's also very protective of the people under him. So our DM was like, hey man, the last ditch effort of this enemy is gonna go shoot one of your guys, right? He's about to like roll the damage, and I was like, you know what? There's a thing in Lancer where it's called power at a cost, and I kind of use it quite often, because again, it's hard for me to forget that this game is a game, and whatever happens to my character does suck, but it's like, essentially it's like everything has a cost, so you just say what you want in the DM and you kind of figure out what's it going to cost. Usually, if something's pretty significant, somebody probably will die in the story, or you will get traumatically hurt because you're pushing yourself or overexerting yourself. And I was like, hey man, I don't want any of my dudes to get shot or killed or anything like that. I'm just going to take the damage, and I'm just going to take the bullet, right? Yeah. Because in my mind, that's what my character would do. My character would be like, no, he lost his entire... He's a survivor from his his squad getting annihilated, and he's like, he vowed to never let that happen again, right? He's like, no, right? And like if my character died, sacrificing himself for one of his teammates, he would be perfectly fine with that. But man, like all the other players were like, what? Like, and you're like, no, what? No, come on, no. In the DM's like, wait, no, hold on. Like, are you sure? Like, give me all the outs back. I was like, no, man, I'm okay. I've accepted death. It's fine. Like, I'll just roll up a new character, probably a character who doesn't want to die, because I've already explored that part, right? Like, why would I make a new character who's so hell-bent on protecting others at the cost of his own life? I've already done that, and he, it came to its conclusion. He did what he set out to do, right?
Yeah.
Protect people. But I think it's just really funny too, because that game, you take a crazy amount of punishment, because it's like you have your mech, right, and then there's you. So all the time my mech is just completely trash. I'm like, listen, man, I'm gonna go up front and soak up all the damage so my teammates don't have to get wrecked, right? Because obviously I'm playing that character, and I think I've up until recently, none of the other players have really taken a lot of damage or even lost their mechs. I'm on like my third mech now. Jeez. Including the time I blew up my own mech because I was like, nope, this is the time, right? Because I need to clear the enemies and keep my people alive, right? So, I'm totally like, nah, man, like mechs are expendable, then I'm expendable, right? That's the two layers to protect my friends. It's like yeah, so I don't know where I was going with this, but I forgot.
Well, I guess it does bring up an interesting point of like the player character's goals, their intentions, I guess who they are as a person as well, but like what they're striving towards, what sort of like their like what they want to get out of going on whatever adventure has been laid out before them. Right. I think that's something that has to be covered when like if you get some sort of premise or something from your GM, and you know that like you're part of a squad or you're a mercenary or you're traveling or something like that. And it's like, well, how does the character I want to make, or like how do I make a character that has goals that fit into this scenario? Like your character is very willing to die for his squad. So how do you fit that into the scenario of being part of a squad, and like how does that work into the story?
Yeah, right. And it's like, also like D&D and those role-playing games are basically just like live storytelling. So all the archetypes you normally have in those characters in storybooks, like like the 5-man band actually just happens all the time, like organically when you're making parties, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's always like the leader, right? Or like the support character, or like the heart of the team, or like the tough guy, or like the like Bruce is definitely the strong happy guy, right?
Yes.
Like he's the big lovable oaf of the team, definitely, in the Fate Seer game, right, that you run. Mm-hmm. So and I don't know, what is it, I'm drawing a blank at Chibi's character. What's his name? Solo, right? So Solo is obviously the the charming rogue, right? Who is not 100% good or bad, but he's always trying to chase skirts, right? Right? And then there's like the Delorphic, who's like the bottom line kind of guy, who is like, it's all about how much money we're gonna get this, and like doing things quick and dirty, like if he can, for like the most amount of money. Like that's like his thing. But he's also kind of compassionate, because he's not like trying to be an asshole, but like he knows the easiest way to get what he wants is to be an asshole. Right? And it's just like such, and that was just organic, right?
Yeah.
Those are like definitely character tropes that exist all over like books and stuff like that, right? Like in stories. So it's cool. Sometimes you gotta think about your character, because a lot of times that the meme where it's like there's so many edgelords and so many dark corners, there's like five strangers in all 5 corners of the room, right?
Yeah, they all like gravitate towards the darkest corner of the room, and they sit and brood.
Yeah, all by themselves in all 5 corners of the room. Like,
Yeah, but I do think like also as well, characters will develop over time. So the character you come in with initially might not be how they end up being as you keep going on, because as a as a person, you're going to be like reacting to what other people are doing, and you're probably going to find like your character might be influenced by those outside actions, sort of trying to like stay part of the party. Like their personality might change along the way, and that might just be like natural story progression. Like, you know, the kind of character you want to make is someone who's a bit more impersonal, but maybe discover like along the way they become a bit more sociable or something like that. But there are things that are like unintentional that would also happen.
Yes. I think that, you know, you kind of want that. You don't want it to. I guess it's like you also want to have your own character arc if you're a player character. You can't start the game and still be the same person at the end, because you and your character actually have experienced something, right? I think truly if you're playing like a long, you know, campaign, right? Like, you know, like maybe you're going through an adventure path, right? The whole like Rise of Runelords, like your character at the end of Rise of Runelords have seen and done some shit and have made lots of new friends and enemies and all over the place. And there's no way that your plucky, you know, fighter at the beginning isn't going to be like a hard veteran by the end of it, right?
Yeah.
like, you know, or like, you know, your hard veteran isn't going to care about something more than just themselves at the end of it, right? Like it's like, I think it's almost impossible because just by the nature of spending time with people, doing the thing, right? And I actively, I think, probably because, you know, I'm DMing, you know, I've done some DMs, like I'm always kind of aware of how can my character have an arc, right? I'm always picking up on the cues that maybe the DM might be dropping, or finding myself in kind of like that situation where it's like, oh, this is a time where maybe my grizzled mercenary cares about a young child or something, and then that's like that's gonna melt my cold heart, right?
Yeah, like, you find your own baby Yoda.
Yeah, I'm finding my own baby Yoda. You know, it's fun. That stuff is fun to watch and experience and stuff like that. So
yeah, I do think sometimes, like, if you have the GM brain on, you do pick up on those sort of like story cues that are like, oh, this is where I can like start doing something, or like this is where the plot thread is pointing. That I guess might be sometimes more obvious if you've already been in a position where you have to put those in front of people.
Right.
Then it's like, oh, I see what you're doing. I'll tug on that thread that you put in front of me.
Exactly. Like, or like maybe it could just, because I know a lot of like the archetypical characters are always just like loners, right? It's like, I think the inherent, you know, the inherentness of, you know, playing a cooperative role-playing game is like that loner character by the end of it needs to be able to trust people, right? Or else, you know, it doesn't really make any sense for them to tag along
or to be in the party still. Like that is something to look out for. Like you have to make a character that is like one of the basic things that your character has to do is they have to be able to like work with other people. Like there has to be something about them, even if they don't like it, there has to be some way that they are able to function in any sort of situation, usually a combat situation based on the game, but in any sort of situation that would require them to be in a group with other people, they have to be able to like functionally do that. They can't just be the kind of person who's like, well, I will never ever work with anyone for any reason under any circumstance, because then it's like, well, then the adventure is gonna happen over here and you're gonna be sitting in the corner still, right?
Right, in the fifth corner.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so funny when we're like, oh, I still do everything by myself, but I'll tag along just a couple feet behind. I just tail them in the shadows, like
exactly. Like even if it's that, like it still has to be something where they have to want to work with a group of people. In particular, they have to want to work in a group of people made up of the other players' characters. Like it is a bit like meta knowledge kind of thing, but your character has to be able to like do stuff with them. Like at some level, even if it's a one shot, your character has to be able to function with these other people.
Right. And I'm also like, that's why I love combat as well, because it just makes things easier to work together, because you guys are everything's simpler. There's no like your turn is just your turn, but you're still kind of working out this puzzle together of the combat. And it's like, I love the time where, like, a couple sessions in, everyone kind of knows what's expected of them, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you can, I love it when I guess there's like a fighter and like another melee character or like something like that, and it's like, I'll guard this end of the hallway, you got the S one, the other one, right? And it's like, I trust you, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the moment. It's like, oh yes, they figured it out. Like,
They figured each other out.
Like, right. Or it's like the fighter and the rogue. It's like, all right, man, I'll draw him in, and you'll flank him and get the bonus, right? Or and it's like, yes, they're working together, teamwork. This is what I wanted.
It is very rewarding. I think as a player, you should definitely look out for those moments where you can work with other people. Like in combat scenarios, like how can you synergize what you're able to do with someone else? Can you buff them in some way? Can you make their attack stronger? Can they do the same for you? Do they have to get in position? Do you have to get into position? Can you communicate that? But also outside of the combat situations, like what can your character do to maybe help them out in some way? If you know that their character wants something, like is there a way that you can be in character and also help them get what they want? And then, also like outside of character, just in general as a player, like is there something you can do for like to help your other players? Because we might have mentioned this in types of players. Sort of like the tactician kind of player who knows the best moves and what everyone should do. And like, is there a way that you can communicate that isn't like steamrolling someone and playing their character for them? Is there a way that you can help them and say, hey, look, we can work together, and if we do X, then we'll get Y, without saying like demanding that they play their character a certain way, build their character a certain way.
Right, yeah, and also like the engineer could be a good person too, right? Like it's like, hey man, I'm trying to make my character do this. I don't really know the system too well, and the engineer could just be like, yeah, don't worry, I already thought about this. Right? You just slap this piece and this piece together, and all of a sudden here's your fireball dog that you wanted, and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you are a player who has like that sort of extensive knowledge of the game, you can use that to help other people. Just, don't be rude about it. Like,
yeah, don't be rude about it. Just don't be rude about anything in general.
Yeah, in general, don't be rude, but like, yeah, like just if you're trying to help other people, then help them. Don't command them. But also, something I was thinking about recently, just because I saw a video about it, is just like the sort of like shy and quiet players. And I was thinking, like, from the GM side, like, you want to maybe reach out to those players and try to draw them in a bit, just so they don't feel, like, left out in the game. But also, as a player, you can do that. As a player, you can see if someone hasn't really contributed for a while, if they seem to be sort of, like, out of what's going on. Then you can have your character just, like, say something to them, just have your character check in on them. If you know that their character has some sort of goal or intent, and it's like, how can you sort of like lean the plot in that direction if possible? Yeah.
Or just like be like, I don't know, just buddy up with them to go do a thing. Like you guys are just in town, and just be like, that player that's kind of quiet, and you're just like, I'm gonna go do whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like, and you guys will just interact with each other, or like you would interact with a DM. Like, it's like kind of one of those things where it's like you want to just be like, I don't know how to explain it with like with the words that are coming to my mouth, but it's like you just want to cooperate with that person. You just want to help them realize that it's totally comfortable space, and it's like whatever, you don't have to think about it too hard. Just like whatever your character wants to do, let's do it together, right? They just need a little bit of support. Support is the word I'm trying to find.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, because it is a collaborative effort. Like everyone is contributing to make this sort of like overarching narrative, or the singular narrative, whatever your intention is. Like, it is a team effort. So if you feel like there's someone who's falling a bit behind, then like just reach out to them, because this is it, at the end of the day, it's a game, right? You want everyone to have fun in the game, or at least feel some sort of like feel something from the game. Like, I don't know if I want to say fun if it's some moment in the game that's like super tense or sad or whatever, but
That's still fun. Like,
yeah, I mean, outside of character, it is so fun.
It's so fun.
Wait, I do love drama.
Oh, drama's the best. I love it when it's like, no, my character died. Like, I mean, I was having tons of fun when my character almost died, but actually it was hilarious because we recently started playing with a set of rules where, like, you know, in narrative sections in Lancer, you're able to have these powers essentially, right? So it's like once per mission, if I were at 0, my pilot was at 0 HP, I will still function perfectly fine. If I take any more damage, I'll die like normal. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the scene, I'll recover back to 1. Like, it was just hilarious because it's like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. I'm actually fine. And then my character went on to the rest of the session, right? I didn't have to pick a new character.
Oh, lucky.
I mean, lucky, but also I was like ecstatic too because it was like I was fine that my character died. My character would have done it like that. I did everything my character wanted to do, but then also like it showed how much a badass my character was and all the decisions I made. I was like, oh yeah, right. I'm actually this tough, right? So I can actually take a bullet for somebody and be totally fine. Because I'm that much of a badass.
Yeah, you do have to sort of like match mechanics to, I guess, the character you want to be, but also you can end up matching the character to the mechanics that you end up with. In a way.
I mean, I do that stuff all the time. Like, but yeah, I guess that's all you have for player characters. I mean, I guess that's very specific to systems, right? Like that's the thing with this kind of advice. Mm-hmm. So it can be ubiquitous to any system that you're running.
Yeah, because I was also thinking, like, how do you go about making a player character? And I was like, I guess that's sort of also system dependent, because I was thinking, like, in some sort of class-based system, do you think of, like, well, what kind of thing do I want to do? What kind of character do I want to play? Like, what kind of class do I want to play? Something like that. And then working from there. Like, it's sort of like, what do you start with when making a player character? Mechanics or role play?
I don't know. It's always like different every single time I make a new character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surprisingly, in all the Pathfinder games I've been playing in, it's always kind of been like, hey man, you want to play Pathfinder? Make a character in like 10 minutes. Like, so I'm like, yes, okay, cool, no worries, I got this. Like.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, because with the Fateseer game and with the Phandelver game, those were both like. Well, I don't know if the Phandelver one was very last minute, but the Fateseer one was very last minute.
Yeah, well, which is fine too, right? So I made my character. I knew I had to kind of align myself with what was going on, but I was happy to just kind of slap some stats together and have a dude because I trusted myself to figure out a personality eventually, right? But yeah, no, and then sometimes it's like, for the Lancer game I'm playing with, it was like, hey man, these are the options of where you can enter the story in, and I chose to be a Union officer, so like I'm a career soldier, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna double down on the soldier thing, right? So It's like, I'll show up, speak to who's in charge, I'll lead from the front, there's people to be killed or shot at, I'm gonna be the one who does it, right? And then slowly, a couple sessions in, my character was like, I was like, hey man, I think my character wants to be like Rambo, right? Because we're playing like in like a jungle planet pretty much. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, Rambo sounds awesome. And I was like, I think I was influenced by, so totally, I'm a fan of Warhammer 40K, and there's a channel called Mini War Gaming, and it's like, they're Canadian as well. They're actually in I forget which places. If I remember, I'll let everybody know. But anyway, so they're Canadian, and they had a series where they played Warhammer, but the characters they played were all 80s action heroes, right? Ooh. So it's like, there was Rambo and like, what was I gonna say? Like, like the Terminator guy, which I forget his name.
Oh, Schwarzenegger.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger and like all those people, and like Mr. T. So, it was kind of all these 80 action tropes, and I was like, oh man, it'd be awesome if my character just turned into was just an 80s action hero. And that's why I was like, now he's tough, he leads from the front, he doesn't let any of his friends get hurt, he's gonna go punch the bad guy in the face, so that's kind of how my character is now. Because I just thought about agent action, as well as I thought about over the the Christmas holidays, my wife and I watched Die Hard because it's the best Christmas movie,
obviously.
Right? And John McClane gets his ass handed to him all the time in that movie, right? Literally constantly, but he wins in the end, and that's kind of like how I feel about my character. It's like, oh man, definitely my character's John McClane. Just out of the frying pan straight into the fire kind of dude, but he's gonna make it out by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, John McClane is actually like genuinely a fascinating character. I think in some of the later movies it got like a lot more action-y, like he got a lot more of the drive a car into a helicopter kind of character, but the first Die Hard just really, like, you don't see that anymore. Like, as much as I love the Fast and Furious movies, and I love the Fast and Furious movies, like the guys like The Rock and Vin Diesel, like, they have it in their contract that their characters can't get hurt. And
really?
It kind of ruined the magic a bit for me when I learned that, because I was just like, oh, this character is a total ridiculous badass, and it's like, no, it's just that the actor never wants to look hurt on screen. So like that kind of character, like the John McClane kind of character who like gets knocked down and then keeps getting back up and then eventually comes up with some clever way to beat the bad guy, like that is a great character. I just want to say shout out to Die Hard, a little film that you might not have heard of.
I know, right? That movie's like 2 hours plus. Like, it's crazy how long that movie is and how much stuff happens in that movie. Like, I swear, man, it's just awesome. And like, I love by the end of it, it's like he's walking out and he's like, he's totally covered in blood. Like, all of his clothes are ruined. Like, he's like shot. He's like, his feet are cut up. Like, he's bruised, he's battered and beaten, but he won and he's the hero. And that's kind of like how, flipping it back to the other side of the DM screen, that's how I want players to feel when they did something.
That is what your player character should be at the end of a dungeon.
Exactly, right? Like, you did something significant and it was hard and you should feel it. You should never, I mean, like, obviously whatever DMing style you have or whatever session you have, but I feel like if you're coming out of a dungeon, just be like, oh, that was easy, or like, oh, I'm fresh still, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like you kind of need that those fighting scars, right?
Like it depends on the tone that the GM is setting with the combat encounter. Like, if you're just mowing down a bunch of people, or if it's if you're trying to specifically imply that these enemies are easy to fight or whatever. But if it's like a very big boss battle, or if it's at the end of like some sort of like long endeavor, like if it's something that's been built up to, then you should come out of it with a few scars. You should be a little worse for wear after that encounter.
Yeah, it shouldn't feel trivial, right?
Yeah.
It should be monumental, right? And you actually leave a piece of yourself back in that dungeon. Like, it's I feel like, it's a little scar. You're like the first time you fight a dragon or something, you're like, oh god, that was terrifying. And now you have a phobia against fighting dragons, right?
Yeah. Like, as a player, I think your character should be reacting to what is happening to them. Like, there should be something, like in the game that you were running, our character, or the pirate game, our characters just escaped a city that was being actively destroyed by this incredibly powerful dragon and this incredibly powerful demon lady. Like, we just got out of that. Like, there's gonna be, I think, character repercussions for that, as there should be.
Yes, they should be. And now you have to, I love that too, because it's like you see how powerful the bad guy is, and it's like, oh god, we need to get our shit together so we can stop this lady and the dragon, right? Yeah. Right, who can destroy an entire city. So it's like, I don't know how you guys are gonna pull that off, but I don't know how John McClane fought, like, I don't know, like 15 terrorists by himself, pretty much, like, but he did it.
Oh, I wish there was a way to nail Die Hard in an RPG. I don't know. I don't know how, but one day I'll figure that out. Maybe I'll do it in Starfinder.
Yeah, sure. Totally, man. Yeah, for sure.
But I think, is there anything else you want to say about, like, making a player character, like how you would approach that, or what you would think of it from a GM perspective?
From a GM perspective, just ask your players a whole bunch of questions, I think.
Yeah, like, what do you want out of a player character as a GM?
Okay. So, motive Definitely. So motive first. If you're in alignment to my world, and then maybe alignment to the goals of kind of whatever I've kind of set the tone, right?
Yeah.
It's like I kind of want stuff to be tonally right, like characters to be good for the setting or good for the mood. I also kind of want players to tell me their motive. Their motive could be vague, but something to play off of. Definitely important to me. And just to make it, just makes the GM's job easier to again make that session one happen.
Yeah. Like if you know like what your players are aiming for, then you can at least like put it somewhere down the path. Like if you have your story outline, but someone wants to go to a location or do a certain thing or deal with a certain person, you can at least put that along the path if you know what the character's motivation is. And very much you want them aligned to the world. Like I did recently have a person who's wanted to make a new character in another game that I'm running, and I don't know, they were just asking questions about the world, and I was like, I'm really glad you're doing that, because there was some stuff that it was like, oh, I have to go back to notes I made years ago that were very vague and undetailed, and it's like I'm actively filling out these details now as I'm telling you these things. But it was just really like from a GM perspective, it's just really rewarding for someone to be invested like that.
Yeah, I just want my players to I think engage is the word.
Yeah,
I want them to engage with the whole story and the setting and like all that stuff and the other players
and with each other.
Just again, just jump on that chat that you guys probably have because it's 2021 and just start spewing a bunch of crap out. And definitely that's what I want. I just want more people I want the least amount of surprises. Just so I can prepare.
Yeah, so we can surprise
I'm the only
players
one. Yeah, I'm the only one as the GM who's supposed to be having the surprises around here. Right?
Yeah, I'm the one what does the surprising around here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty good coverage of player characters. You did mention off camera that you had something you wanted to say about Lancer and Roll20.
Oh, yeah.
Or did you just want to brag a bit about how you set up your Lancer game?
No. I kind of wanted to. I had like an idea of some advice again. So like going back to the tip where it's like, if you have writer's block, just kind of focus in on what you enjoy, and then the rest will kind of follow. And that's what I did, because again, I find narratively I'm not very good in Lancer. It's like I'm just out of my element. I usually like I've really been DMing in like a fantasy setting for the majority of the time I've been DMing.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of like figuring out just like, how do I link these encounters? I need to like have some story instead of just like, go here, shoot this, right? Like,
yeah,
right. We're not playing COD or something. Like, it's like, we're trying to do something a little bit more. So I was having writer's block, so it's just like I don't really know how do I bring these things together, or like how do I bring these scenes together, right? How do I bridge from one action scene to the other action scene? So. And, I just decided that, hey, man, I'm just going to start working on a bunch of stuff that, I find rewarding. And then eventually, like, as I'm doing stuff, I'll just read something or I'm listening to a podcast or something while I'm working on it and be like, oh, yeah, okay, that seems like a good idea. And I'll go back to my notes, my narrative notes, and be like, blah, 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 right? Fill in this thing. And then, like, you'll get the click of like, oh, yes, I know what needs to be done, and just do it. So it's like I've been, for me, the thing that slows down, or things I don't like about running games, is that, just like the pace, right? Like I want stuff to be easy for players to just, use, right? So I will go into Roll20 and like create buttons for people, right? That will just spit out their abilities, right? So they don't have to go look it up on the PDF or something crazy, right? And it's just, if I'm able to just copy it over and make it a button so someone can click on it and it'll just show up so everyone can read it, then it's like just even easier, right? And same thing with for me when I'm running NPCs, right? It's like or enemies, right? It's like I just want to be able to click on the token and just see all of its stuff and be like, okay, cool. I could really quickly, instead of reading through a bunch of texts, I can just be like, oh, click that button, click that button, click that button. And in the act of like building, like I just have like an NPC sheet and building out the NPCs and all the different factions and stuff like that. Like I got a whole bunch of ideas of like what this group kind of acts like, what this group's kind of like, how do they synergize together. And it's like, well, why do they look like this, or like why do they work like this, or why do they choose to be this kind of mechs, you know? And I got a whole bunch of value out of it, out of just doing the things that I find rewarding. So you know, that's kind of what the thing. And like I don't know, it's Roll20 is such a weird program. It's like it's super, it's like a little finicky, but if you kind of figure out some parts of it, you can definitely get a lot out of the system.
Yeah.
The program that you're working in, because man, like I just can't wait till Lancer is integrated into Roll20 so I don't have to put in all this work.
It would be.
But I also love it too. It's good too. Yeah. Also, like I'm new to Lancer still too, and it's like I want to sit there and read through all of, like, as I'm setting up buttons and putting in like rolls and stuff like that and weapon attacks, I can actually read what this weapon does and be like, oh wow, that's really powerful. I should remember to use this. Like,
oh no.
Yeah, some of them are like kind of crazy, and I was just like, ooh, those numbers are big.
But yeah, like leaning on things you find rewarding, because like the problem with like inspiration or getting that click or that idea is that it's very inconsistent, like irritatingly so. Like, so like putting yourself in a position where you're like consuming something that you're into or that puts you in a certain mood, I think that's really great for like getting those writing ideas flowing. Because I have been at times where it's like I need to prepare a certain thing and I need it by this time, so let me just sit down and start writing. I'm gonna do that right now, and nothing happens.
Exactly. It's like staring at the blank page and you're just like, damn it.
Exactly. But then moments where you're like I just had some ideas, like even this morning I was just like, because I was trying to figure some things out, and then I just had like a sudden idea and I was like, how am I gonna write this down? I'm literally in the shower right now. And I don't know, it's annoying when you, I think everybody gets that, like you have that sudden idea of like, oh, I know what I have to do about X, Y, and Z, but I'm not in a position where I'm able to do that. I just needed space away from it to, like, I guess let my subconscious figure it out.
Yeah, man, it's well, you know, human beings have like our brains work overtime all the time, right? Like it'll just, all the problems we have it'll chug around in the background and it'll just figure it out by itself, really. It's so, you know, sometimes you just gotta, you know, don't think about it and just do something else, and then it'll whip around and you'll get it.
Yeah. Like, yeah,
that's just basically what I was yeah, that's what I wanted to do for in Lancer, kind of just figure out how am I supposed to tell a story in space. Space is so big. I don't know.
Just a bunch of it.
Right. Oh, as well too, is like I love making encounter maps and stuff like that. So it's like, right, I have like a vague idea of like what the story should be, but I don't really have anything concrete. So I just started to like make cool maps. I was just like, cool, right? Like, you know, for like a little bit of spoilers, like this will happen eventually, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, careful with the spoilers, dude. I'm in that game and we're streaming it.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, I was like, it would be kind of cool because I wanted to you know, play battleships with Lancers, right? So I was like, man, let me make some coastlines, right? Or maybe let's have like let's make some islands, right? And then I was like, okay, cool. Let me find a cool sub token or something like that, and I made like this sub token, and then I was like, okay, cool, I have an idea now, right? Like why do the Lancers have to fight a sub? That would be hilarious. Like, how do I figure that out? And then it's like I picked like a couple enemy types, and I was like, oh, I think these will all work really well together. And then I was like, okay, now you know, if we're fighting and some people are on land and some people are on water, how do I make that experience? How do I get the Lancers to go into the water And it's like, well, maybe I'll say like, oh, if you're on land and you're shooting into water, maybe there's like some difficulty involved, or maybe the thing counts as invisible or something like that. So now it's like this scenario is like more unique, and I'm getting more excited about it, right? It's making me excited to run it, and it's like, I think that's it. Like,
that's the sauce,
right? That's the sauce. You gotta just, eventually you just get hyped about it, and then you just do magic, and your players are like, wow, you're such a good DM, how did you figure it all out? And it's like, well, it was a whole bunch of nothing, and then just all of a sudden everything.
It was nothing and then it was something is very much the definition of DMing and running a game in general. Gosh, yeah, I don't know. I can't say that I built maps and had that, but I have like just hung out in the Reddit battle maps page and then like made a whole session from seeing something very interesting or unique there. I have some stuff that's lying around my world that hopefully players run into, because I saw something there that was like, oh, this is really cool. Yoink.
Yeah. Now you'll sit there for years until I move the plot in that direction. Like...
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know what else we can cover, unless you want to talk more about like inspiration and something like that.
I don't know about inspiration.
Yeah, me either.
Like, where's it come from? It's everywhere.
Basically, like we have talked about before about just like adapting things that you enjoy into a story. Like, how do you tell Die Hard in a fantasy world?
Yeah. It's like, how do you do that? Well, you just do it. Easiest advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think like just to sum up what we're saying in general is just to like sometimes you can't just like force ideas out, but you can also just like try to absorb the things you like about the media you already know you like, and think about how can I translate this into a game with my friends.
Yeah, right. Like how do you make the Mandalorian happen? Well, have a little cute thing to protect, and then you just give it to the party, and the party's gonna be like, damn it.
Hey, it worked for me.
Right? It's terrible, Calvin. You're an awful person. Actually, that's happened to me too in the Lancer game, because I'm responsible for people, right?
Yeah, everyone is your idiot.
Right, it's finally come back, Calvin. Somebody has given me people to care about, so now I have lovable NPCs.
Yeah,
to protect.
yeah. Can we like? Okay, look, Ramon knows my weakness as a player. This is the one bad thing about playing with a GM who knows my one weakness as a player, which is if you give me some NPCs to care about, they will be all that I care about.
Yeah, it comes right. Honestly, it's the point where I don't want them to do anything on the map, because it's like, listen, just let them stay back. I don't want anyone to die. Right? Sometimes it's like we gotta let them do something, and I was like, okay, well, they have to approach cautiously. It's like,
yeah, you did the same thing to me in our Ineon game, where you had a couple of people like Suki and. Gosh, I'm blanking on the other guy's name. The really like low level. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The Baldrin, the low level sword guy. And because the player characters were going to deal with something that was a much bigger deal, I had to send them to investigate this other thing, and I felt like a parent sending their kids the first day of school.
Yeah.
Except the school might be evil fungus.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait till you guys go through that. I designed that whole dungeon already, so that one's just sitting in the bank waiting to go. I'm actually really excited to do that one eventually, whenever we get the gang back together. But yeah, no. Oh,
yeah.
Dude,
and then even in our pirate game, you gave me like this. I have this whole crew to worry about, which was partially my fault, because I came up with their names. Like once I named them, it was like, it's over.
They are real now. But also you have to worry about your ship, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like now it's like you have to worry about the ship and all the people on the ship, and like
like as this so city is burning, it's like, what's gonna happen to my ship? Like, I'm worried about the people, don't get me wrong, but also...
Like, oh crap, the ship.
My ship's made of wood.
Everything's on fire. Oh no.
Yeah, so here's another GM tip. Find out what your players' weaknesses are and exploit them for profit.
Yes. and then just laugh maniacally. Oh, I don't know if anyone else does this, but sometimes I'll just maniacally laugh while like I'm walking down a hallway just to like practice it. Is that weird?
No, I full honesty, I used to do the same thing back around like college. I used to do that too.
Like I think once you start DMing, like you're just kind of like, like you just want to like do the evil laugh and twirl the mustache. Like.
Yeah, because you figure it out. You figure out why bad guys do it because it's really fun to be the bad guy.
It is really fun to be the bad guy. It's fun to be bad.
It's fun to mess with the heroes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can't wait. I miss having a purely evil mustache twirling villain.
Well,
damn it.
Maybe you'll be able to introduce one at some point.
Yeah. Something dastardly.
But I think that'll be the end of this episode. We did cover actually a lot more than I thought we would, because I was just thinking about like player characters and stuff. But we did cover like also inspiration and also you tormenting me with NPCs. So a few good subjects in there that hopefully we're able to spend some, maybe useful information, especially when it comes to like player characters. Just think of how you can align yourself with the game world and align yourself with at least one other member of the party. I think you'll find like a smoother transition from character concept as an individual to party members in a story.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear more stuff like that, just, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, so you get a notification every time we upload an episode. We're going to be uploading every Wednesday. We do have more stuff coming down the pipeline. I am editing something like I have it open right now, so that's coming soon this week, maybe? I don't know. I did mention, because I'm just thinking about how busy this week is going to be, I did mention that I will be guesting on another Untold Stories project stream. I've been there like 3 or 4 times now. I'll be on, they're doing a Fallout game for a few weeks, which is starting on the 12th, which I think is the same day that this episode is coming out. So check out their stream at 7 p.m. Eastern to see my face. Hopefully by then I'll have gotten a haircut so I don't look super messy on screen. My hair really messes with like the inserted background in Zoom, so
that's hilarious.
So I gotta flatten it down because it's all fuzzy. Then like I look like I have like a halo of static.
Oh man, Calvin, you need like a cool hat. That's what you need.
That'd be way easier.
Streaming hat. Yeah, like I don't know. I wear a beanie all the time, so it's like I just slap it on and it's like, yes, I look presentable now to the world. So COVID hair is real.
So by Wednesday, I'm either gonna have a beanie or a haircut, or I will just look how I look right now. So yeah, be sure to check them out. I'll drop a link down there in the description. Also down there, you can find links to us on socials, on Twitter and Facebook, where you can go and look for updates about what we're working on. Check out our website, winwithdice.ca, to see more about us and any sort of like exclusive artwork and details and character details and stuff like that. And yeah, again, just look out for a new episode on next Wednesday now that we're doing them weekly. We skipped next week, but we're back on track.
Yeah, we will.
Or skipped last week,
probably.
Rather.
Last week? Yes. Yeah. So 2021, baby, we're here. We're planning on crushing it.
Yeah, we got big plans this year. We're gonna do a whole lot of stuff. So be sure to stick around for that. But until next time, is there anything else you want to say, Ramon?
No, give the people what they want.
Well, I'm sure what the people want is to win with dice. And we'll see y'all in the next episode.
See you guys.
Bye.